Let's go ahead and get started then. Gina, I will let you kick off and we'll get moving.
Beautiful. Well, welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about the social signal branding for the AI era. I am Gina Ramsey, CEO and founder of Pink Dog Digital, and with me is Coral Norman, our Director of Digital Media. Today we're going to dive into how social media still matters in a world dominated by AI, search saturation, and evolving consumer behavior. We're going to talk about how to use social media to bring long-term brand authority, to build long-term brand authority and search relevance to your business and your brand. Feel free to use the Q&A box, and at the end, we'll do a live Q&A. And as Coral showed earlier, just kind of a show of hands or something in the Q&A box because apparently chat is not working for us. A bunch of you are active in social. If anybody new has joined the room, are you active in social media?
Dawn just jumped in.
Who just joined?
Dawn on my list.
John Lewis was at my house on Saturday night, and I think our husbands have a bromance happening. Um, so, I'm going to talk a little bit about broad brushstrokes, and then Coral's going to fill in with specifics because we all know who the brain in the room is. A common myth is that social, particularly organic social, is dead. And probably a year ago, I might have leaned in that direction. But what we have learned is that in reality, social isn't dead. It's just a lot more strategic now. And that the AI algorithms, AI overviews, AI search, all things AI, are prioritizing relevant, engaging, and consistent content. And that also means social media content. Recent stats highlight that while reach might be lower, engagement and brand awareness are still very high and very achievable with the right approach.
So one thing to really note here, and I used Pink Dog as an example for this one because we find with our social media that most of the time the stuff that's getting the most feedback and our top posts, these are our top posts for June, typically have absolutely nothing to do with sales or even necessarily our products, but are more based on what's relevant and engaging. So, a couple of the brand signals that we're giving off here, we've got content that is fun and is very real to our brand because we're a little bit of a different brand. We make sure that we're a little offbeat, we're a little fun. We've got the dogs, we love animals. So that's a big part of what we do on a day to day. So things like this tend to get the most engagement for us, as well as talking about our clients or our previous clients and making sure that we call them out when they have good things happen because, it's part of our community and building community is what social media is originally all about. And I feel like it's circling back to that a little bit as well. So most of the content that we see really do well is content that is building our community and is giving them the information they need in a way that is both fun and engaging. Um, and that's what algorithms are really showing the most, which is why those posts tend to do as well as they do for us.
And something to remember here is that even if the posts that are not relative to your product or service get engagement, because of the algorithms, those posts cause the other posts to show up more often in other people's feeds. So if a post about dog days of summer gets a ton of engagement, the post about the change to the Google algorithm change around branding is going to get pulled up in search. So we can use one to benefit the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and one of the most, important things to note here too is that whenever you're working in social, you want to focus on about 70 to 80% content that is relevant, about 10 to 20% content that is fun and interesting, and then about 5 to 10, and I know that those numbers are not perfect, so work with me here, that you're looking at that is actually salesy, because social really isn't about sales anymore. It truly is about perception of your brand. All right, ready?
Yep.
All right, cool.
So, the AI tools are changing how people find and evaluate brands. Google has a number of items that they rank you on. These ranking factors, you can't find them. You don't know what your ranking score is, but Google gives us enough information to know what to be cognizant of. And AI tools are really, really becoming a huge part of what those ranking signals are around your brand. These AI tools are changing how people find and evaluate brands. So, for example, when someone asks ChatGPT for the best agency or the best product, AI is pulling data from across the web. It is no longer a best mortgage broker, Baltimore, Maryland, or mortgage broker, Baltimore, Maryland. And when you do put in that longer tail keyword phrase, that question, I'm getting divorced and I would like to know the best mortgage broker for a divorced person, they're going to search not just your website, not just your Google business profile, but your social profiles and your social posts. I just read an article that Instagram is the second largest search over Google. So people are actually going to Instagram and searching for products or services. And if you can't be found, it could be a problem. The other things that are there are reviews, mentions in other people's posts. So that's one of the reasons we post frequently about our clients, our referral partners, our vendors, friends of Gina. Anytime we mention those people, we're giving them street cred with Google and the AI engines. And remember, tone is important. If you are, and we talk about this a little bit later, but if you're using AI to create a social media calendar, social AI is going to figure that out, and it's going to recognize it's not your tone, it's not your brand, and it's not going to get indexed. Two of the most popular websites that show up consistently in search for their social posts are Duolingo and HubSpot. People are mentioning them, talking about them, posting how many days they've been on Duolingo. Wordle's another one.
Yeah, the other reason Duolingo gets so much attention is for any of you who saw the whole debacle with killing off Duo
Yep.
a couple months ago. That was an excellent social media stunt that helped them get recognized across the web and the way that they did it, because they posted some things to Threads, some things to Instagram. Not everything was the same across, but because they were posting to different places and giving off those different signals, people were finding them across the web, which was helping boost their social or their AI signals considerably.
These ranking signals are huge and should be part of an overall social media strategy. If your social media strategy is to post, you should stop right now.
And I will say, one of my favorites as far as the social signals and branding and all that goes is Beyond Meat. And if you don't follow them on Threads, I strongly suggest you jump on Threads and check them out because they are absolutely hilarious. You can post whatever you want on the brand account on the weekend and you can't get in trouble with legal until Monday. You don't have to look this up. It's true. Things like that. Like and they're posting that stuff that's funny, it's relevant, it's engaging, and the engagement on all of their posts is insanely high, which is one of the main reasons that they have a tendency to do so well in things like ChatGPT, which is where I pulled this from. I looked up what brand has the best meat substitute for vegetarians. The first one that popped up was Beyond Meat. And it's largely because of their following on Threads and Instagram and there because they're really engaging with their community and they're really giving information that is funny and interesting rather than trying to be your typical run-of-the-mill bland brand, as I like to put it. So they're a lot of fun that way and it helps their signals a lot. So because they're posting every day consistently content that engages people, they're seeing those signals really start to allow them to show up in searches on ChatGPT and Gemini and those types of places.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions yet?
Feel free to pop in. I promise we will stop talking at you and talk to you anytime if you have questions.
Yeah, we don't want to be talking heads.
No.
All right, want to go on?
Yeah.
So I want you to think about brand signals as the digital breadcrumb of your company that tells a story. People think of branding and they think about logos and colors and business name and taglines. It's how you speak to your audience and how your audience interacts with your content and how consistently you show up. If you can compile a consistent brand voice with audience interaction and consistency in your engagement, your posting, and your voice, this signals AI that your brand is legitimate, trustworthy, and relevant. If you can get AI to believe that, you're going to not only show up in Google, but you're going to show up in ChatGPT. You're going to show up in Perplexity. You're going to show up in Claude. You're going to show up in all of the above. So Coral's going to talk a little bit about what brand signals we're looking at and where they appear, and just how you can utilize these platforms to increase your brand reach.
Yeah. So, a big one for brand signals are reviews. We always encourage people to get as many Google reviews as possible. Those Google reviews are really going to pull in and be a big part of search rankings, and they have been for a very long time. That's not a new thing. When you have the map pack and Google, when that pops up, the knowledge panel with your Google business profile information, all of that is kind of critical. And those reviews will also pull into ChatGPT, to Claude, to all of those AI platforms so that they're also, when you're looking up, hey, what is the best vegan sauce? What is the best, whatever it may be, you're going to show up higher if there's consistent, 5-star rankings across the board where people are saying, oh, this is my favorite. You're going to see a lot of that in there. So reviews are going to be a big piece. Another one is brand mentions, whether that is on social, whether that is somebody backlinking to your website, somebody at mentioning you on Instagram. Those are going to be big ones wherever those mentions come from. Consistent social media posts. I know we kind of will harp on this one. We will beat this particular horse to death. Consistent social media posts that are engaging and authentic. And those are two words you'll hear us say a lot because authenticity is critical. And then anytime you can actually engage, you're going to get those comments, those shares, those likes. And the more engaging that you are, the more likely you are to have people be interested in your content and to signal that your content is relevant and interesting, which is when AI is going to start to pull those types of things in. Anything that builds your authority as a brand is where Google is pulling these signals from. So that is your website, social media, Google reviews, across the board, if you're seeing the name of your business somewhere, that is a signal. Whether it's a positive signal or a negative signal is going to depend on the situation. But the more that you can feed the algorithm those positive signals, the more that you are going to get positive feedback from AI when people are looking for certain brands, certain products, certain services, so that you're able to show up there and really get that kind of feedback that you need.
Couple of other places that we don't touch on a lot because we don't do a lot with it is traditional media, TV, radio, print, as well as good old-fashioned PR. Um, it is a very good thing to have other well-respected publications print articles about you. Dawn can tell you the reach of some of her products that she's got at BBJ. People on the Move is a big one. People are talking about. If you can write an article for one of the local area publications, if you've got a press release, something significant, we can push it out to not just the local publications, but also publications all over the country. Some of you, Amanda has 2 different physical locations in 2 different states. We want to be able to attract eyes on the prize in both locations. So if there's something happening that's pretty important in your world, consider doing a press release. It's an inexpensive way to get brand signals online, not only inside of your marketplace, but also outside of your marketplace as well. New hires, promotions, those types of things can really, really help your overall brand signal.
Thank you. Are there any questions there on what those brand signals are and how AI is finding them? All right, I'll leave the Q&A open, so if any questions come in, I'll be happy to answer. And along those lines, these are a little bit more about what you should be doing to increase your brand signals. I know we talked about posting to social, but specifically for, B2B businesses, we always recommend being on LinkedIn, both your personal and your business pages. The business pages do okay. They're important to have for branding purposes and for those branding signals. You're not usually going to see a ton of traffic to those business pages. You are going to see some traffic, but mostly from people who are interested in working with you and people who work for you. What those pages do is they really just give your employees a repository of content to use and give those brand signals off. If you're using your personal LinkedIn, you're leveraging your personal network that you've been building, and you're going to see a lot more reach and a lot more engagement on your personal posts than you will on your business posts. But posting your business information to both will really help increase that reach and increase those brand signals. The pieces that are going to help give off those brand signals are thought leadership pieces, any business or personal development insights as you're building your own, personal brand. Those are going to be helpful as well. And then team showcases. I will tell you that every time a picture of Gina's face or my face or Savannah's face goes up on social, it increases our engagement and our reach, usually by at least 100%. So post your team, post behind the scenes stuff, let people get to know you as more than just a brand, but also as the people behind the brand, which lends to your authenticity and improves those brand signals as well.
Couple things here that I'd like to jump in on is that I hear all the time, I'm business to business. I don't need anything other than LinkedIn. And I would argue that point. It depends, I think, is the answer. So, for example, we have a client that does HR, and she has a podcast slash webinar slash fun episode called HR and Cocktails. She gets more brand engagement from TikTok than any other social platform out there. It is crazy to me, but she gets so much interest off of TikTok. I would encourage you to not be afraid to try different things and see how they resonate, because at the end of the day, all of these platforms are about telling a story. Her most recent TikTok was about somebody doing an interview with a 35-year-old individual who tried to bring their mother in on their interview, and why that was a grievous mistake on the part of that person. And her numbers went through the roof. Google Business Profile is another one that people miss a lot. We just had a client that had not updated their Google Business Profile. They've been in business for 24 years, 20 years. And because they hadn't updated their Google Business Profile, it showed that they had only been in business for 10 years. And the AI read that and ran with it. So even though Facebook and Instagram tend to be B2C and LinkedIn tends to be B2B, think outside the box on what message you're giving and consider using some of these other platforms to drive interest in an audience you may not have thought about before. And for those of us that have been in business a long time, remember that the TikTok users of today are the buyers of our products or services tomorrow. So to start to build brand earlier in that overall sales cycle may make sense for your business.
Definitely. Yep. And when we talk, LinkedIn and GBP, those are bare minimum for B2B, as Gina was saying. So these are the ones you almost have to be on as B2B if you want those ranking signals, but definitely a good idea to be on other places, just to kind of get the message out and to send more ranking signals, which is what this is all about. The other piece for, B2C, especially those visual ones, definitely want to be on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok is a big challenge for a lot of people because you have to create consistent video. And so you need to make sure that not only do your products look good, but that you have people that are willing to be on video too for things like this. So it's important to know when you go into TikTok that it's a really great platform to be on. You just need a really good strategy for it. Quality product images and videos always do really well. Anything you can do community building, if you're using content that is consumer generated content, that is excellent. Anytime you can get that, user generated content from people who have your products, use your products, love your products, that's a really great way to build those brand signals too, especially if you're collaborating with them on Instagram posts or, tagging them on TikTok, whatever that looks like. But the big piece here is visual storytelling and really figuring out what your brand story is, what you want your authentic brand to feel like, and making sure that that is what is coming across on those platforms.
One thing I will jump in here, because I hear it all the time. Can I use AI to make my images? Can I use AI to make my videos? Please don't, because people know it and they can see it, and your authentic attempt at images and video are going to resonate a million times better than an AI generated supermodel with 6 fingers and 4 toes. So please, 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 please be careful with the use of this. We have a client that sells a product that is related to a diet. I don't want to out them. The images that are on their website were generated by AI, and every image is the exact opposite of everything that their diet stands for. So
And also along those lines, people can tell when your food images are AI generated. And I know that it turns a lot of people off to look and see if you're posting food or recipes or whatever that may be, or whatever industry you're in. People can look at it and see that it's AI generated and they know it's going to kill that authenticity.
Yeah. For those of you that have been in the business for a really long time, if you think about some of the real estate agents you've met over the course of your networking career, and they hand you a business card, and the image on the business card is a glamour shot from 1992. AI images are the glamour shots of the, now times. So just be very conscious of authenticity and reality.
Some other great ways to signal brand authority. This is a quick checklist. I recommend that you screenshot the checklist, or I can happily send you the document later. Ensure everything is cohesive across the platforms, imagery, bios, all of that. You want a clear and authentic brand voice. I think, we've used the word authenticity approximately 1,000 times on this webinar so far. We still mean it. You want a regular posting schedule. As Gina said earlier, you don't want to post just to post, but you want to be posting, at least 3 times a week to platforms like LinkedIn so that people can see that you're there and so that those signals are being sent out that you are a consistent brand. Uh, Put stories and human content first. That goes right hand in hand with authenticity. Same with aligning your brand values and genuinely engaging with your audience. If you have comments that come in from people, don't ignore them. Don't just leave them there. Respond to every comment, whether it is positive, whether it is negative, neutral, whatever it may be. People need to see you engaging in order for them to continue engaging, which gives signals to the algorithm that people like your content, which gives signals to AI that you have good relevant content. And that's kind of how that's going to continue to build up for you the more that you engage with your community. And I will say one of the best community engagement strategies I've seen is through Heyorka, which some of you may recognize as the platform that we use for social media calendars. The big thing that they do is they have a Slack channel where they engage their community. They tag their community on social media. They have consistent branding across everything. You can look at their posts and know that they're from Heyorka, whether or not you see the logo, because their branding is so consistent. And as their stuff goes across, you can feel the brand authority there because it is consistent, engaging, and community oriented, which are 3 of the most critical points for those signals.
And a couple of points here. I have a friend of mine who doesn't know anything about social media, but he's told me time and time again, I know that your stuff is your stuff because it always looks like your stuff. So if you've got one post that's in blue and green, and one is in pink and white, and one is in yellow and orange, people are never going to get used to your brand. So make sure that the content you're pushing out has a consistent brand theme. Not only do people see it, but take a look at it from a machine's perspective. They scan your brand, they find outdated, inconsistent, or missing content, and they rank you accordingly. If you haven't posted for 4 months, you're missing an action. If you do what I said with all the different branding, you're outdated, you're inconsistent, AI is not going to treat you as a trustworthy resource. So the more active and aligned your channels, the more visible you are, the more consistent you are, the more AI powered your recommendations and search summaries are going to become.
Yep. Yeah. And, along those lines, one of my biggest points is don't go crazy in Canva. I love Canva. We use Canva for a lot of things. I'm using Canva for the slideshow. But if you're doing any kind of graphics, don't go crazy. As Gina pointed out, if your colors are, like ours, pink, blue, white, we're not going to throw in a bunch of random green, yellows, and reds into our posts because people won't know that it belongs to us. So don't go too crazy in Canva. Don't ditch your strategy in favor of trends. Trends can be fun. I'm sure everybody saw the Coldplay debacle that just happened, and Some brands jumped on the Coldplay thing, some brands didn't. Some brands it was authentic for them to jump on the Coldplay thing, and others it was absolutely not. And it was, kind of a crisis of image that they're causing for themselves, especially trying to figure all that out. So don't ditch your strategy in favor of trends, especially if the trend does not align with your brand. It doesn't look good on social and it doesn't look good as far as being consistent goes. And you want to make sure that you're not posting bland content because as we, mentioned, you want it to be engaging. So you can jump on trends when they make sense, but make sure that they make sense for your brand and your brand voice and your values rather than just kind of jumping in because it seems the fun or the thing to do, or you might get more rankings for it because your audience won't appreciate it, which will feed negative signals back to AI.
Yep. Some other ways to weaken your brand signal and confuse AI is to post just to post. I have seen on more than one occasion people who I know personally are going to ChatGPT and saying, create a 25 post social media calendar for my ABC business. And every post is, hi, I'm blah, 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 buy for me. Hey, we do blah, 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 buy for me. Don't do that. Don't just post to post. Post with meaning and a process and an end game in mind. It's crazy to not have a strategy. As Coral mentioned, don't follow the trends. Don't be inconsistent with your branding. Don't ignore your comments, even if it's just to say, hey, thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it. We'll do a whole other webinar on online reputation management. I know when somebody says something negative about your brand or one of your employees, it feels like somebody's saying your kid or your dog's ugly. We're going to help you respond to that. Don't forget that even though you're a business to business company, you still have a brand personality. You still have people that work for you. You still have clients that are great brand advocates. You still have great work product that is interesting. We have a company that does emergency glass repair. We get pictures every week from them with somebody having driven through the plate glass window of some such place. There's still a personality, even if it doesn't feel like it. And don't ghost your audience. Don't post 5 days in a row and then disappear for 3 weeks and then come back and expect people to be engaged with you because you've left them and they don't have any place to go.
Yep. And the algorithm notices when you ghost your audience too, and will push your information down.
Yep.
And along those lines, one of the things that you can do to future-proof for AI, because these are things that you're going to need to keep doing, is continuing to build your brand. Having quality branding from the ground up is critical. You need a clear brand guide. We have a very simple one as far as our visual brand guidelines go that states the fonts that we use, the colors that we use, the feeling that we like to put across all of our social as far as images go. And we really stick with that because that way, as Gina mentioned, people know our brand when they see it. It's very quick to see, people know who we are, and if they're trying to find us on AI, or trying to find information on AI about marketing and they see it pop up, they know who we are, they know that we're a legitimate brand. The other big thing you should do is have brand champions. I post internal brand champions. So one of the things I like to do, I like to share our content. I like to share information about marketing, but I like to make sure that I'm also reposting things from our brand, where I mentioned having that LinkedIn business page is important because that way it's signaling that people internally are also have buy-in in the brand, care about it, and that it is a legitimate brand. So having brand champions on the inside is good. And then, if you have a good community whether you're B2B or B2C, like I mentioned, Hayworka, they also do a really good job of having brand champions both internally and externally because they mention their clients and they make their clients want to champion them. So if you are working with a brand of any kind, your clients, and you can champion them on social media, that's great too, because they will usually champion you back.
Coral had mentioned the LinkedIn corporate pages before and how they are kind of substandard in terms of engagement. Those corporate pages are great places for your company and the people in your company to repurpose and brand champion for you. So if you want to do a 15-minute meeting on how they can do that, all they have to do is hit repost with their comment on it, perhaps a hashtag, perhaps a mention to a client that might find that content engaging. There are ways to get your employees and your team members and your major stakeholders to do this kind of work in an easy way. It doesn't have to be complicated. There's a million ways that your team members can help you. I do encourage you to have a social media guidelines on what can be done and can't be done based on your brand. I have a client that does trucks. They make your truck look fancy, Jeeps and things like that. And they had an internal person who was posting politics and off-color jokes and all kind of things that shouldn't have been up there. So if you're going to give people the reins to do this, please give them the guidelines and the guardrails to make sure they're doing it to stay aligned with your brand.
Yeah, you want your brand advocates to be aligned with your core values and your brand. That is critical. The other thing that you want to make sure that you're not doing when you're working on these brand signals and future-proofing yourself for AI is using AI as its own marketing agency. Some people are doing that, as Gina mentioned, because either they don't want to put the dollars behind marketing or they think that it is the end all be all. AI is an excellent tool. And, we use it as a tool. We know plenty of other agencies that use it as tools. You'd be silly not to use it at this point because having an understanding of AI and how it works is critical to make sure that you are doing the best job that you can. So you don't want to be using AI to create those full graphics. You don't want it to write the content for you, especially without any editing or oversight. If you do have AI write content, make sure that you are double checking all of the content for correctness, as well as making sure that it's not overtly AI. People can usually tell when something is written by AI. And don't let AI write your entire marketing strategy for you. That is one of the top mistakes that people make. You can use it to help guide your strategy a little bit if you are using the correct inputs and giving it the correct prompts, but it's never going to be something that is going to give you a good comprehensive marketing strategy. And it's never something that's going to be able to spit out your whole marketing calendar in a way that is authentic and true to you and doesn't also overtly sound like it was created by a bot.
Agreed. We do have a question. Connor is concerned about fixation on algorithms and doesn't it diminish from the creative aspect of advertising? And I don't think that's ever going to be an issue because I think that not especially the AI bots are going to recognize when people get into a formula. I think that when everyone starts doing the same thing, the person that's doing something different is going to be the one that gets picked up. I think it's important to be aware of the algorithms and make sure that you're managing your content to be recognized. But if you start following a formula, which can very easily be done if you're using AI to create your content and you're not putting any human thought or interaction into it, I don't think there's a risk there at all. Coral?
Yeah, no, I agree. And that rolls back into authenticity too. People who are following a specific formula every single time they post or wrote formula that way, you aren't going to get any engagement on your posts. There are some ways to, there are a few pieces to a formula that you can follow and that people are going to follow, but I don't think it's going to kill creativity or authenticity because people tend to gravitate towards the creativity and authenticity. So those are the posts people are going to engage with. And the more that they engage with it, the more the algorithm is going to push it up. So I don't think that it ever totally takes out the ability to be creative and authentic.
Agreed.
That was a great question, though. All right. So go over some of the key takeaways here. Um, Organic social media is not dead. It's just different. It is a brand signal and it is more about perception than it is sales. AI is going to continue to read and interpret your social media activity for years and years to come. As long as AI continues to dominate, it is going to be critical to make sure that you are giving it as many ranking signals as possible, which is where brand signaling comes in. It really does matter if you want to be found. And the note that social media and both SEO and AIO are intertwined. People are going to find you more if there are more signals because the algorithms for search are relying more on AI every single day, and AI is pulling those brand signals where they're at. And then authenticity is critical for your brand, for that human piece that, you know, yes, AI is who we are, is what we are working towards having us rank, but ultimately the person at the other end of that computer is a person. So you need your content to be authentic because people will notice very quickly if the content is not authentic to your brand and will jump off the bandwagon real quick. Gina?
I think we've got a number of case studies that I would encourage you to take a look at, or if you would like us to send them to you, please let us know. But we are doing this all day, every day. We know what works, we know what doesn't work. We are going to classes, we are doing the things. This is our area of expertise. I do not know what many of you do. The way that you know it, we know it the way that we know it. So please use us as a resource. We can help guide you. Even if you're DIYing it, we can help guide you and we can help put you in the right direction to be successful in this. That is why we are doing these webinars. That is why we will continue to do these webinars. And we hope that all of you get a takeaway, at least one thing that you can take and put into action in your business every single time that we meet on these monthly webinars.
And we'd also love to hear what those action items are that you've taken and used and, if they've been successful or what that looks like for you. The more we know about when our webinars are successful, when the information we're giving you is successful, the more that we can tailor these to make sure that we're answering the questions that you have and that we're giving you information that's really going to help you because that is what it's all about after all is helping businesses, improve your digital footprint and making sure that you're out there.
And if you share those success stories with us, then we can post it on social and mention you, and we're all benefiting from it.
Everybody gets a brand mention.
There you go.
It's very Oprah. You get a brand mention and you get a brand mention.
Exactly. Exactly. So with that, we'd like to open it to questions. No question is dumb. I hate that word, but please don't be afraid to ask a question. If you don't want your name mentioned, please tell me. If you would like to comment on anything we've had to say or argue with us about anything we've had to say, I would welcome that opportunity at this point, so that we know how to better tailor these for future webinars. So anybody got anything?
And George did try to get the chat back up, but for some reason it just does not seem to want to work. So feel free to drop comments in the Q&A too, and I will pick those up from there as well.
Raise a hand.
All right, going once, going twice. All right. Well, if you all do have any questions that you want to follow up with that you don't want to ask specifically on the webinar, or if there's anything else that you want to go over, please feel free to reach out to us. Most of you have our email addresses, but they're right here if you don't. We're always happy to answer questions about AI, about social websites, pretty much anything on the web that has to do with the business we can answer. So please feel free to reach out and let us know. Happy to answer questions, happy to chat a little bit more about anything you've got. Oh, looks like we've got, oh,
Yep,
well said. Thank you for
Nicole
inviting
thanked
me.
us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
And feel free to reach out to either Coral or myself at the emails above. And if not, we will give you 10 minutes back to your day and hope that you have a wonderful rest of the week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Happy Tuesday.
Take care.